Around 50 people have been arrested and a police helicopter fired at with flares. The travellers say they won't be moving on for a few days, and tonight the festival still appears to be in full swing. Local people are angry about finding drug-taking equipment dumped in gardens and sheep savaged to death at a local farm. The travellers say they've already started a clean-up operation, and when they do go, nobody will ever know they were there.
In a minute, we'll have reaction from people living near the festival site, the local MP and police involved in trying to control the festival. We'll also be going live to Malvern for the latest news from the scene. But first, a look at the events of the past few days. Richard Barnett reports on the Bank Holiday Festival that seems to have taken everybody by surprise.
This was the moment when the travellers hatched their plot to invade Castlemorton Common. Nearly 200 vehicles pulled up at the roadside on the A38 just south of Gloucester. The travellers had already been thwarted by Gloucestershire police, who blocked entrances to a site in the Forest of Dean. So they held a roadside meeting and decided to head for Castlemorton over the border in Worcestershire. Soon the calls were going out to groups all over the country, and as the police looked on, the ramshackle convoy moved off. By next morning, the normally tranquil common near Malvern had become a travellers' shanty town. Tents had gone up, and the temporary occupants were busy making themselves comfortable. The 700-acre site, normally home to grazing sheep, had become a giant car park for a motley array of vehicles. Local people were angered that the police had apparently been unable to prevent the invasion.
That's virtually a no-go area. You can't have that. That's not allowed. It shouldn't be allowed. They should get the army or something, police or whatever, get in there and split them up.
People have made their living on the common for years, and they're driving all their sheep off onto the road. They shouldn't be up there, should they?
But the travellers, who'd come to Castlemorton from all over the country, couldn't understand the local animosity towards them.
I don't think the local people should kind of make themselves separate from these people, because some of these people are the sons or the relatives of the local people.
If we want to have a gathering, why not?
Why can't we party?
It's not hurting anybody. I mean, we clear up the mess after Letchlade. All the mess was cleared up.
By Monday morning, more than 20,000 travellers had turned up. A large marquee had been erected, and the camp became a giant rave party. Loud music echoed across the site, so loud it could be heard 10 miles away. And still more travellers arrived. From the air, the sheer scale of the invasion of the common can be seen, achieving the dubious record of being Britain's largest ever illegal rave party. And 3 days on, it was showing no signs of coming to an end.
Well, 4 days on, with thousands of people still on the site at Castlemorton Common, there's growing concern locally that nobody seems to have the power to do anything about the travellers. Villagers say they're under siege. One farmer has lost 20 sheep savaged by dogs from the campsite. Drug-taking equipment has been found dumped in gardens, and there are growing piles of rubbish to be cleared. The police say they're powerless. The travellers say they'll move on, but not for a few days. Ken Goodwin reports.
People who live in the village of Welland are calling the weekend festival a disaster, and for farmer Bill Weaver, that's exactly what it is. 20 of his sheep lie dead, savaged by dogs from the nearby festival camp. At first, Bill was too distraught to talk. Many of the sheep were pregnant. Vets struggled to save wounded animals.
Oh, devastated, devastated. I mean, it's a lifetime's work gone in 5 minutes, 10 minutes or whatever. Unfortunately, the dogs were still here. I mean, what can you do?
The 15,000-strong festival convoy descended on the beauty spot of Castlemorton on Friday, a colourful concoction of New Age travellers, hippies and ravers. Villagers in Welland found themselves under siege. This is the shop, now boarded up with its permanent police guard.
There's been a huge amount of shoplifting, how much we don't quite know, the general upset of the villagers, people complaining, the smell.
Many of the people living in Welland want to know why the police failed to prevent the convoy arriving.
I turned the first ones away from my drive at 3:30 last Friday afternoon. 2 policemen arrived and we were within a half an hour confronted with over 100 vehicles. And I said, where are the rest of your lads? They said, we're it.
But the police say they've done everything they can under the circumstances.
We're talking about several hundred vehicles, several thousand people who've all had a single-minded and very well-organised intention to go onto that common. The common is a large tract of land. In practical terms, to guarantee stopping that event, and we tried to but failed, would demand many hundreds of policemen. I do not have hundreds of policemen available at the drop of a hat.
South Worcestershire MP Michael Spicer has been visiting constituents affected by the festival. He says a change in the law may be needed.
I think we may well have to move to the kind of situation that, for instance, Metropolitan Police have, where they can ban marches that are considered to be against the public order. Now, I have nothing against meetings that are legal and young people having fun, but this is an illegal meeting. It's a threat to public health, public order, and a real nuisance to people who have lived around it, and that must never, ever happen again.
The people of Welland will be glad to see the back of the travellers, but in today's hot sunny weather, most are showing few signs of leaving. Well, the signs are here at the campsite at Castlemorton near Malvern that there's been a steady trickle away from the site by some festival goers. For Jill Gilbert, who's a local resident, that won't come a moment too soon, will it?
No, it will not. We should be very glad to see the back of these people and everything that they bring with them.
You sent your 3-year-old child away for the weekend. Why was that?
I sent him away, firstly because I was frightened for his safety as well as our own. After finding these drug equipment in my front garden on Saturday morning, people must understand that a gathering such as this is just an umbrella for the drug dealing and drug pushing of the people up here. It must be understood.
All right, well, next to you is Sue Thetford. You're a Malvern Hills conservator. You look after the common, basically, don't you?
We look after the common, yes, that's our job.
Is the common being looked after at the moment?
How can we? It's devastation, absolute devastation up there. It's going to take months. We need a month of rain to get rid of all the muck up there and for the grass to recover. It's devastating.
Now, there are those that say the police could have acted sooner to keep the festival goers here off of the common. What would you say to that?
Well, I do know that one of our voluntary wardens rang the police on Thursday night because he knew that they were on their way, and when 2 police arrived at 3:15 on Friday, it was not adequate to keep these people away.
Janet Wheeler, you live nearby. Have you been kept awake?
Every night. We've in fact not bothered to go to bed the first night. We were so scared of the influx of thousands and thousands of people. During the last 3 days, I've seen so much law breaking. I've seen a policeman run over. I've seen cars smashed to pieces. I've heard of my friends driving up here and people jumping all over their cars. That frankly, you're frightened to go to bed. When you do, you have to wear earphones because you can't hear the music. This music now is nothing to what it's been before. This is not even as loud as I've heard it a mile away.
All right, well, standing next to me, we have John, one of the festival goers. You've heard what some of the people have said. First of all, what about the state of the common, the way you're leaving it?
Well, we're making efforts at the moment to clean up the common. I've been down to see the council today to get large quantities of bin bags, and all the people that are staying behind to clear up will be making every effort to make sure all the rubbish is removed. And also we're hoping to get some skips up here from the local council to get it all taken away.
Steve, what about the noise?
The noise has been kept to a minimum now, I mean, due to complaints from the locals.
What about the drug dealing? What about the drugs?
The drug dealing, I know nothing about that.
The police have put a report in to decriminalise most drugs at the moment because they've realised, well, the consequences.
But it's a criminal offence at the moment, and this lady's found syringes in her garden.
I'd like to know where she found those syringes.
Like, you see that in towns, you see it all over. I mean, personally, I don't think it's very good myself, that, but I mean, I wouldn't do it, and you get bad people everywhere.
When are you going to leave?
As soon as the site is cleared up.
All right. Back to the studio and to Anne.